Let me start by saying, if you watch nothing else in this whole video, remember these two words. Choose yourself. For me, that phrase flipped a light switch in my life and was almost like walking into a dark room and suddenly seeing all the furniture, all the pictures on the wall and the wide open space that was always there. When you fully and wholeheartedly start choosing yourself, the world starts to look a bit different. It's not that the blessings or the chances suddenly appear out of nowhere. They've always been in the wings waiting, but what changes is you. You become more receptive, more tuned in and ready for what's been waiting. I'd always say if I meet the right person or achieve that big goal, then I'd be happy. And I get close to some of those right things and discover I crave something else. The freedom to do what actually lit me up and to be who I actually was. And once I dropped those fake beliefs that I needed certain external stamps of approval, I felt a wave of new energy flood in. Suddenly those business ideas started popping. The creativity sparked and even my self-confidence grew. It was like the universe noticed I stopped chasing empty promises and decided to show me some real opportunities. Now, there's a big difference between wanting something from a mindset of lack and wanting something from a place of fulfillment. For the longest time, I told myself, I need people's approval, or I need this relationship to prove I'm lovable. But that made me operate from a deficit, like I wasn't enough on my own. And I realized I didn't need any of that. I was already enough. And that was the day I made steps in the right direction. Once you decide I'm good either way, you suddenly stop pushing people or situations away with desperation. In many cases, they start coming around naturally because the clingy vibe was gone. So how do you get from the constant people pleasing to choosing yourself? You start by calling out your own beliefs. Maybe you grew up thinking, I must perform perfectly to get love. Or you felt like me, so if people are unhappy, you feel like it's your responsibility to fix it. Well, ask yourself, is that really true? Who told you that? If the answers point to some outdated rule that you made up at the age of 8 or 15, it might be time to rewrite it, big man. And listen, the rewiring process isn't always pretty. It's like peeling layers away from an onion. Each layer starts to reveal a core belief that you didn't realize you had, but every old belief you challenge is one less thing anchoring you to yourself, to your past self. Over time, you feel lighter. People often think about individuation, which means pulling away from old systems like parents, social norms, and expectations that shape us as kids. Obviously, certain things are necessary for survival when you're little, but as you grow up, you keep playing by those same rules, even if they no longer serve you. So instead of trusting your instincts, you're scanning others for cues. Like, is this okay? Am I allowed to do this? Shifting into your own power means you define your own path. Of course, you can consider other people's opinions, but never let them overshadow your own internal compass. When you choose yourself, you discover how strong your self-foundation can be. So strong that outside negativity doesn't crush you. Listen, growing up, I used to portray someone who was confident. But really and truly, I said yes when my soul screamed no. I suppressed opinions to avoid conflict. I laughed when I wanted to cry. This was a survival strategy. And I developed that as a child, but as I grew, it started to erode my happiness, and eventually I realized how fake and draining it was. In the moment I decided to be real with others and myself, I became free because in the end, saying no or standing up for your views, opinions, or preferences are direct acts of self-love. And if you don't love yourself, how can anyone truly love you? Because you never give them a chance to know the real you. And once you start choosing yourself, You notice that you're less fixated on getting a thumbs up from people or a pat on the back. You discover that not everyone likes or agrees with your decisions, and that's cool. Why? Because the ones who matter in your life will respect you for being real. And every time you give yourself permission to live your truth, you reinforce your sense of self. That internal safety net becomes something you trust. So if someone laughs at your ideas or your style, or yeah, it may sting a bit, but it stings less than you think because their opinion isn't the truth. And you move on. And eventually you'll get to a point where you don't even think about it. And part of choosing yourself is letting go of attachments that hold you back. Maybe you cling to an ex who once made you feel special, or a friend group that gives you mid-validation but constantly drains your energy. Releasing these ties isn't easy, but it's like clearing out a messy room. You make space for new and better things to enter. For me, it was stepping away from a past life that freed energy. For me, it was stepping away from a past life that freed energy up I didn't realize I was pouring down the drain. Suddenly, I was open to healthier dynamics, both in personal relationships and overall mindset. If something or someone is only giving you crumbs of acknowledgement, they're not feeding your soul. And it might be time to move on. Yes, I know the phrase choose yourself can be very vague. And in practice, it's really about tiny daily decisions that honor yourself, your well-being. Maybe it's turning down a social invite when you're feeling exhausted mentally, or taking 5 minutes to say, what do I really want right now, and actually doing it. Think of each boundary you set, each honest no you speak as a deposit into your self-love account. Over time, your balance grows and you trust yourself more. Knowing you can rely on yourself is a cornerstone of self-worth. You're no longer waiting for external handouts of love or respect. Another cool shift that happens is you let go of micromanaging every outcome. Instead of forcing a relationship to work or clinging to a job that no longer fits, you start trusting the flow of life. It's not about being lazy or complacent, it's about recognizing that sometimes when you take the hand off the steering wheel, you discover a better route you hadn't even considered. The mindset also ties back to confidence. If you believe you're fundamentally okay, you're able to adapt and thrive. You're less panicked about controlling every single detail. Opportunities start naturally showing up, or you spot them more rapidly because your focus isn't locked onto a single path that you thought you needed. Self-choice is understanding that you're already enough, whether you're single, in a relationship, at your dream job, or in a transition. When you stop hunting for missing pieces, you find it within yourself. Surprising but true. People around you might react in different ways. Some are going to resent you for your newfound independence. Others are going to celebrate. Ultimately though, it's you who reaps all the benefits of living authentically. Your self-respect climbs, and that intangible sense of home you used to seek in others often springs up inside you. Listen, choosing yourself isn't about becoming selfish or ignoring people you care about. It's about prioritizing your well-being so you can show up better for others and for your life purposes. Once you realize you don't need external validation to be complete, you'll see the world from a more abundant lens. You become more open to genuine connections because you're not looking for them to fill a void or define your worth. Ironically, that sense of wholeness makes you more attractive. People respect someone who's grounded in themselves, so if you've been waiting for permission to step back from your old patterns or relationships that dim your light, this is it. Flip the switch. Choose yourself and watch how life responds. You got this. Peace.